was losing it again. I had to find a memory, even a bad one, to focus on, to cling to. I couldn't stop. I couldn't. I needed control. When Shane took Brent, I cracked.
Good. She's ready.
Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 5th review of this channel. Today featuring is inFAMOUS First Light. Although I played this game for the first time ever, it felt like a trip down memory lane because of the nostalgic PS2 era vibes it gave me. Without spoiling much, this is probably my favorite game I've showcased here on this channel currently. Now without further ado, let's get into it. Story. When it comes to the story, there isn't much going on. I made the mistake, which really isn't a mistake, of playing this game before playing inFAMOUS Second Son, as I read first as literally meaning first in the series. However, a viewer pointed out that this game was a DLC to that game, in which it's a prequel, telling events leading up to Second Son. The game is set a couple years before the events of Second Son, following the origin story of a female badass character, Fetch, who has neon powers. It's your typical vigilante in a world where superpowered people are seen as freaks and hunted by a police force. The uniqueness comes from the fact that the game goes back and forth between her memories, experiencing losses, betrayals, and awesome power awakening moments that lead you up to the present day. The story itself was only around 4 hours, which is simple and to the point. Gameplay. As for gameplay, I compare it a lot to Marvel's Spider-Man PS4, in the sense that they're both superhero games with similar movement and combat. While I know Spider-Man came years later, it's a good comparison point. The movement sees you zipping around the map of Seattle, almost reminiscent of the DC character The Flash, which made the game all the more fun for me as he is one of my favorite characters. You leap from building to building, parkouring, tightroping, and so forth. The combat is also very simple, with your usual square of PlayStation being your attacks while mixing in triangle for finishes, triggers for projectiles, bumpers for special attacks, and the D-pad for your ultimates that you charge up. The enemies in this game range from thugs to police force with the ability to actually deal some crazy damage, but aren't too difficult when you incorporate the game's mechanic of different enemies having weak points you should target. There are no boss fights per se. My only gripe with the game was the fact that there was no health bar in the game. You'd just start taking too much damage and the game would only warn you then, whilst also having your screen get black and white, almost losing your neon color, I'd say. I also do love how all the missions and collectibles take place in the open world, so that limits load times and gets you right back into the action. Collectibles too weren't overly annoying, as you could get everything in just an hour. Similarly to most games out nowadays, this one also had an upgrade or skill tree, which isn't too bad to level up. Another nostalgic feature this game had was a challenge arena, where you could rack up scores by fighting or saving hostages that would show up on global leaderboards. Performance. In a current generation of games that are focused on hyper-realistic character models, this game didn't. Now granted, it is a 2014 game, and resources and technology were limited back then, it still holds up to this current day. I found myself even loving the semi-cartoonish style, which brought me back to my PS2 days. There weren't even any bugs I experienced, if I remember correctly. Extra details. As is the trend with most games here on this channel, this is yet another PS Plus catalog game I am playing, but the game itself goes for no more than 300 Rand, which isn't too bad. It is of course a 2014 game, so some of you might consider it outdated too. Verdict. Now for what most of you have been waiting for, my rating of the game. To say I love this game is an understatement. I've already said it's one of my favorite games I've showcased yet on this channel, and I mean it. The OG PS2 and PS4 vibes I got while playing this game was so nostalgic and really sold it for me. As such, for the first time ever on this channel, I give it a 10 out of 10. What's there not to love? Even the gripe I had with the health bar sometimes amazed me because it felt part of the story, the way your screen would black out, losing color, similarly to Fetch. Having now played this, at the time of this recording, I'm currently playing through Second Son, so stay tuned for that walkthrough sometime in the near future. I want to hear from you guys. Whether you played the game too or watched along with my walkthroughs, what would you rate it? What do you like? What don't you like? Comment down below. As well as drop some suggestions of games you'd like to see me review and walk through in the future. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thank you all for watching.